Good afternoon, welcome to the Option XE webinar. I'm Ben Newman. It's the 3rd of June, the time is 14:18 Central European summertime. Hopefully you can all see and hear me, see my platform set up with my brokers here. As always, you can interact with me through the chat window here. Interaction does help, confirmation that you can see and hear me helps, just so I know I'm not sat here talking to myself. But any questions you've got throughout, please do ask them. Okay, it does go a long way to help everyone to benefit from these webinars, which is what it's all about. Okay, right, so what we're looking at today, or this afternoon specifically, is there's been so much happening today, and we can see this from the movement in a lot of these trends. Since the Aussie dollar spiked here, that was further to positive GDP data very early this morning for me. The US dollar has pretty much dominated, and it's continued to do that, and I think it will continue to do that once the announcement of the non-farm employment changes is released, which is ongoing right now. So at the moment, it doesn't appear that we've got a result on that. I'm just trying to have a look for. Oh, we have now got a result on it. So it's right around forecast figures. That's not going to be very positive for the US dollar. Let's just have a look at some of the trends here. I haven't got any of them turned on, but we'll see. Right, the US dollar rising against the Canadian. That's not unexpected. We've got the trade balance report coming up in 10 minutes for the Canadian dollar. So this is one to watch. So I'm going to turn this one on. USD Canadian turned on for signals, 10 pip setting. Now let's have a look at some of the other USD, not JPY. The US dollar pairings, Euro US dollar. Let's have a look at an H1 chart, because we know that the Euro has been pretty dominant at the US dollar. So this will probably start to come down, because we've also got the US trade balance report. But right in the middle of that, we've also got the European Central Bank press conference, which could throw a complete spanner in the works here, because depending on the positivity of that trade balance, it will depend which way the US dollar goes. However, that European Central Bank press conference will have an effect on the euro. So maybe we should be looking at the USD JPY for opportunities to trade, which we can see here. The US dollar is now starting to dominate, which is what I suspected. So I'm going to turn that on. Now, this has been quite low for a while. The yen quite dominant of the US dollar, but this is now climbing up fairly steadily. I think we'll continue to do that. So what we have to do is see what occurs with this trade balance report. However, the USD JPY, see, look, we can see that spike there, and that's since the non-farm employment change data was released. And I think this will continue to go up. Looking at the Euro USD chart here, we can see the US dollar bounce down, but then the Euro straight back up, and it's kind of level. Again, we need to wait for that trade balance information to be released, and depending on what happens with the European Central Bank as well, will how that one goes. At the moment, we just want to just keep an eye on the different trends and see what's happening. You can see this is kind of flattened out, so there still could be some level of correction there. We'll have to see. Yeah, that's right, Vijay, we've got that now. So I'm just going to go through methodically, as I always do. Australian US dollar, let's have a look at that. Now, we know that the US dollar has been dominating this throughout today, but where is it in the scheme of things? Well, the Australian dollar is still very high. That means that the US dollar is set to change direction, and when it does that, it's already started pretty much. But a positive trade balance report for the US would be a definite movement for the US dollar. Now, the Euro GBP, you can see here this massive drop in the strength of the pound this morning, followed by an ongoing downward turn. But now the euro is picking up again, and if this trade balance report, the European Central Bank conference has anything to do with it, if it's positive, we'll see this continue to rise. It's been fairly flat. So again, one that we want to turn on, just keep an eye on. I'm going to clear the signals that have come in there. There was one for the USD JPY from where we've just turned that on. So I'm just going to go through Euro JPY. Let's have a look at. Well, this is too difficult to read in my opinion, so I'm just going to leave that well alone. Euro USD at a very low point for the US dollar, I believe. Indeed. So again, this is one that probably is going to start coming down in favour of the US dollar. We're just waiting for that to happen. And usually a positive release of information will bring that back down. The GBP JPY, okay, well the pound's probably going to continue to dominate this yen now. The yen does look pretty weak, so I'm going to turn that on as well. Probably not going to trade that, but it'll be interesting to see how it's acting compared to other pairs. GBP US dollar, let's have a look at the H1 chart on this. Right, fairly similar picture to the euro, apart from this poor services PMI figures this morning, which has caused this drop. So likelihood is that the US dollar will continue to dominate this as well, because it's just turning down now. Now New Zealand US dollar has been pretty dominant of this all day. We can see far more so than against the Aussie dollar, but it's not far away from where it sort of started out 3 days ago. So again, turn this on. I think probably it's going to be US dollar dominant. Now the USD Canadian is the one that really is capturing my attention, because let's have a look at where this was 3 days ago and you'll see why. There we go. So Canadian dollar a real low point. So depending on what this trade balance is between the Canadian and US will depend which way this goes. So hard to tell what to tee up at the moment. I think we should just wait for the next 5 minutes or so and see what happens, and we'll probably see one of them moving or gaining in strength just before the announcement. Go back to 10.15 on that, but certainly this very much in favour of the US dollar as a whole. But look at this, there's a huge spike up here. This was when the non-farm employment change was released. The Canadian dollar comes straight back at it, so it will be interesting to see what the figures are for the trade balance for both Canada and the US. We have got a few other things coming up throughout this afternoon, so it'll be worth keeping an eye on what happens with the US dollar. If they're all positive, the US dollar will become very dominant. Pretty sure that is quite overdue as well. Now the USD JPY we looked at before. This is really now very US dollar dominant. We just want to wait for this trade balance statement to be released, and then we can see what we're going to trade. The only other one to look at really, GBP JPY. You can see this is probably going to be dominated, as I said, by the pound, and the Euro JPY. Probably the same story, dominated by the euro, although this is a lot more erratic. I can't see the yen taking control of this now though, even though the euro is at a very high point, so we'll just see what happens when this data is released. I'm going to turn that on actually and just see. Be interested to compare them with each other. Euro GBP, I think the euro is probably a little more dominant than the pound, so this may well continue going up. If we have a look at a 3-day view, we can see again it's a similar story to against the JPY. So we'll just see what happens over the next few minutes. What I'm going to do, difficult to know what to tee these trades up with, if I'm honest. I think probably the USD Canadian, and we'll see what occurs when these trade balance reports are released. Just going to refresh this and see if we've got anything showing yet. Not yet, okay. So we can see the US dollar still creeping up here. So I'm going to get the brokers teed up for a USD Canadian trade. We'll just see which way that goes. Again, always using the 30-minute rule on the trades, which I believe is provides a lot more reliability, a lot more predictability than just placing short trades. So we'll just tee these up, and finally on option rally. There we go. So we've got a few teed up there, and then I'm going to go through the bottom ones and hopefully select some other opportunities. Still nothing in terms of release of data on that report. USD Canadian, I'm going to change to M1 here, so it may be that we don't get signals from it But remember that we're watching this very closely. Right, the Canadian dollar started to gain against the US now, as we can see here. Now, this is very often a sign that the data is going to be actually negative for, negative for the Canadians, which will be positive for the US dollar. So we'll just wait and see how that moves. And then what I'll do is I'll go through and assess some other pairs as well. We'll just keep changing this to make sure it stays up to date. So it's turned again in favour of the US dollar, and I think that is going to be the way it will go. We've got just under a minute, half a minute to go until that announcement is made, so I'm going to keep refreshing this until we get a result. The JPY is starting to gain against the US dollar now as well. Again, a sign that I think the US dollar will become dominant once these figures are released. Just waiting for this data to come through. Canadian catching up a bit. Let's just have a quick look at I don't want to take my eye off this, just to make sure we don't miss that move. We're right on the time now. Right, here we go. So, US dollar positive, but there's been a huge drop by the Canadian. Look at that drop. So there we go. We can't see the Canadian trade balance yet, but this is where, so we can see that is very positive and it's negative. So I'm going to get these placed in favour of the US dollar. Just go through and place all of these while we've still got that movement up. And I think this is going to continue to rise. That is very positive for the US dollar there, and very, well, in fact, very negative for the Canadian. So, bizarrely, this chart is showing a huge, oh, there you go, it's completely switched around. I think there was an issue with our chart there, but it has changed direction now. I think it went upside down for some reason. There we go. So, that's why I've got those trades placed. Hopefully, we've got enough on it that there's not going to be a huge correction there. The Aussie gaining against the US dollar, we're getting a signal saying that. The JPY gaining against the euro, but definitely that information is positive for the US dollar. So I think we're going to start seeing that creep up, even if it creeps back a bit. For now, I think it will continue to rise, certainly against the Canadian. Strangely enough, we are getting these trends showing, the US dollar showing weakness actually, which I think is going to be short-lived. So we see the US dollar gain suddenly, that's why, so that it's showing the signals for the correction, but I think it will be a small level of correction, then the US dollar will continue to rise as it is doing now against the Canadian particularly. Certainly knowing that Canadian trade balance was weak, US dollar was strong. I think this will continue to rise. Right here we can look at the amount of signals coming in now, all sorts of movement going on. So we're just going to go through and actually assess these for a bit and see what happens. Now, I'm going to let the USD Canadian just carry on. Yeah, I've got it, Vijay. I was right on it. So we're getting signals in both directions now. It just shows how much movement there is in these. The software can't keep up. But I do believe that this USD Canadian will continue to rise. So let's just have a look at it again on the Optionbot chart. Hopefully it will show us. There we go. So we can see it is indeed, this is on an M1 chart, and we can see that it is indeed continuing to rise. There was a slight drop away. Now it's continuing to go up, just as predicted. So hopefully everyone managed to get some trades on that. Please confirm if you made the same trades as me. It's really interesting to get the feedback. And what I'm going to do is go through and assess some other options in a more controlled way, hopefully. What we're going to look at now, Aussie US dollar. Now, we know is that this is likely to carry on going down. So this is really an opportunity to start taking advantage of these movements, because we can see the Aussie dollar is very high. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a look against the euro as well, Euro USD. Yeah, this is continuing down as well, H1. Yeah, and from a very high point. So, and finally on the USD JPY, yeah, indeed, this is continuing to go up as well. The weakest of these currencies, I think, probably the yen. Strangely enough, not showing that in the charts at the moment. The GBP USD, possibly the pound, quite weak as well. On an H1 chart, we have a look at it. You can see the US dollar is now driving this down. We've just got a signal to confirm that. And it does look like, but then it's gone straight back up again. So very difficult to tell what's going on at the minute. In fact, the signal's just becoming more and more confusing. So just when there's this amount of activity going on, really. We can see here against the JPY, so the US dollar is starting to dominate. So I think we're going to be safe to place trades in favour of the US dollar, and now it's starting to rise against the yen. So this is where I'm going to get my trades placed in favour of the US dollar. Let's just have a look at where the yen is in comparison to the US dollar on an H1 chart. Yeah, so we see it's coming from a pretty low point, but hard to know which one to pick, if I'm honest. We're seeing that the Aussie dollar's now, well, certainly it looks like it's spiking up a bit, and it has, but it's going back down again. So the most reliable ones look like the Euro USD to me, the GBP USD possibly at the moment. Yeah, the Euro USD looks like the most favourable, although on an M1 chart, this is kind of leveled out now. Obviously, we've got ourselves into a good position on the USD Canadian just because we timed those trades so well. We used the weakness of the Canadian dollar to our full advantage. The Euro GBP, interestingly, let's have a look at that. Yeah, so the Euro continuing to gain, and I think that's probably going to continue to be the case. I just want to have a look at where this is. So that tells me, in fact, because we had this European Central Bank press conference, of course. So that's telling me that the euro, whatever that was very positive for the euro. This chart's gone a bit odd here, but we can see here that the euro is starting to dominate against the pound, and probably it's going to be doing that against the yen as well. Indeed, look at that. Well, there's the one to follow. So the Euro JPY. I know we're going at quite a pace here, but I did say there's so much going on today. I think this Euro is going to continue to gain against the yen now. So this is where I'm getting my second run of trades placed JPY, and in favour of the Euro. Again, we're putting same length of time on these trades. I think this is going to continue to rise here. So let's just get all of these placed. Spreading these trades, obviously, with these very solid opportunities is the way to go. So just getting those placed. And the Euro JPY there. So there must have been very positive information released on that press conference. I can't see what it is at this stage. But certainly we've got a run of trades there where I think we're going to be in a good position with these. So we can see that is now rising against the, let's just have a look at the position we're in on this. We can see that the US dollar continuing to rise slowly but surely now against the Canadian. Of course, where we placed our trade, we've taken full advantage of that big move, which has put us into a really strong position. The Euro JPY, the yen now coming back at it, but momentarily, I think, let's have a look. Yeah, it's flattened out, and I think this will continue to rise as well. So we could get another layer of trades placed in favour of the euro against the pound, possibly. Let's just have a look. Yeah, so that's kind of levelled out a little bit, so I'm just going to put that back. We've got a ton of signals, most of them confirming what we predicted. The only ones that are going against that are the Aussie and New Zealand dollar, which you never know with them, but the US dollar you'd expect to be dominant overall, and that's probably movement from correction rather than actual movement. So we'll just go through and have a look. So we can see here Euro GBP on an H1 chart. Yeah, so euro continuing to gain against that, but it's in such a high position that it's a good possibility this will come back. The euro USD, yeah, so although the US dollar did take some control, the euro is now going back at it with some conviction, but nothing to tell between these two, so I'm not going to concentrate on that. So quite frantic at the moment. We've got these trades placed. Now the Euro JPY, we can see, is starting to rise now, but drops away a little bit. I think the euro will continue to gain though. So we need to find one other currency really that's going to give us an advantage, and I think it may be this GBP USD, looking like the US dollar now becoming very dominant. You can see the pound that was in a very accelerated position there. Excuse me. So, excuse me. So GBP USD, I think is going to continue to drop. So that's where my final trades are going to be placed in favour of this US dollar that's had positive impact for it based on the non-farm employment change and the positive trade balance. The JPY now taking off against the euro. Let's just have a look here. Yeah, GBP USD definitely where we want to be, I think. So this is where I'm going to get my final trades placed. The only reason I will place more trades is if this Euro JPY one doesn't transpire the way that we hope, but the Euro undoubtedly, as you can see. So I think we'll have an opportunity to place a trade with the Euro against the GBP if we need to, but we'll just see what happens there. So hopefully everyone managing to follow this. Well, the yen has absolutely taken over against the euro. So a really bad call by my own admittance. No way of knowing it was going to do that. But what we have got now is a very solid US dollar and a very solid euro, but not against the yen clearly. So this is where I'm focusing my trades on the euro, on some of these pairs. Well, the euro has now changed direction. The euro GBP looks undoubtedly strong. This is continuing to rise, but there we go. In fact, looking at this now, we haven't had a signal to tell us this is happening, but the euro has weakened. So it does look like we're going to be following this US dollar, which is continuing to gain. So these are the ones that are letting us down now. This euro is not as strong as first appeared, but certainly the other ones are. So let's have a look at the euro USD, because if that's the case, then the USD will be dominating the euro as well. And indeed, it certainly looks like it's probably going to continue to do that. It's just taking a bit more time. So overall, let's have a look at that position. Yeah, I think my last trade, this is too far gone now, and the euro may come back, but they're moving around a lot, these. So we've taken advantage of the strength of this US dollar. I think this has gone too far for us to come back on it. So I'm going to cancel these while we can still get a fair rate on it. And what I'll do is replace these trades in favour of a US dollar trade. So we can do now. These don't look like they're going to recover. It's got to be said. So we're going to cancel these ones and then go in and look for another opportunity to make up that profit. But these ones, yeah, the yen absolutely running away with this now. The temptation always is to say, well, look, we'll just place it in the opposite direction. But the problem with that is that, well, it really is way beyond what I could have predicted when we can see how weak it is against the other pairs. But the other one's looking pretty good for us, as we can see. But I think, I've got to be honest, this USD Canadian looks undoubtedly strong. So it could be that we just double up on this, and that will mean very solid results. We've got another 17 minutes on this this trade, and at the moment it certainly looks like the strongest one. But the Euro USD, which I wanted to have a look at, it's taken longer for the dollar to get a hold of this euro, but it has done it now. And looking at this, it's moved back slightly, but I think this will continue to go down. I think the US dollar will continue to dominate this. Be interested to see what was released in this press conference. Right, okay, so the European Central Bank keep interest rates on hold as deflation risk fades. So it is positive in terms of the future, but for right now, that's not going to be very positive for the euro, and it's probably why this US dollar is now dominating. There's been positive news for the US dollar, and in terms of immediate effect, pretty negative for the euro. So it's just sitting around at the same level at the moment. So nothing to tell in that. And I just want to have a look at the M1 chart again and see where we're at. But we've got a signal from the Aussie US dollar, so let's have a look at that. Yeah, so this looks like it is going to continue to go down overall. There's a lot of fluctuation in that trend, but certainly over the long term, this is one that's going down. So just having a look here. With other trades, the pound has bounced back up slightly, and what is it that as a result of? I'm just going to have a look. Don't know, nothing significant. So it's probably going to come back down. We've got a bit more time on this. Certainly our Australian, US and Canadian trade there looking pretty good. So it's kind of leveled out a bit. So the Aussie US dollar is the one really that probably if we place a longer term trade, it's going to see us very erratic in that movement as well. Lots of fluctuation in it, and possibly the New Zealand US dollar will be a more sensible alternative. In fact, look at that. So let's see if we can get a trade on that New Zealand US dollar. Maybe that we can. Indeed, it's allowing it. So that's where I'm going to go with my trades. I think that's a safer bet. This morning, we weren't able to get many expiry options on that pair. Let's just see if we can now. Yeah, it is giving me that that option. So that's where I'm going to place my final trades here. New Zealand US dollar. Let's see if we can get this position on all of them, and I think that would be a very good result for us. Indeed. Yeah, indeed, it is giving us that position. So I think the US dollar, with how strong it is, obviously the weakness of the Aussie dollar, just holding strength enough for us to put me off placing trades. However, it is undoubtedly strong against this New Zealand dollar. It just hasn't got the backing to hold the strength of this off. So, so there we go. That's where our final trades are, and we have cancelled a row of trades here. So I'm going to go through and calculate all these in a minute, but as far as you guys are concerned, you sold the Euro Vijaya, so what I'm doing is placing these trades on the New Zealand US dollar, which undoubtedly the US dollar is dominating. I wanted to place more trades on this morning, but as you know, we weren't given the expiry options to do that, and we can see that our US dollar is now dominating the pound again, so that's going to come back into the money in a minute. So let's go through these. Now remember, whatever I add up in terms of our totals here, we've got a row of trades to take off. So I'm going to go through. They're all $50 trades. That makes it easier to calculate. All right, but we look at an average of $40 per trade. That's pretty much what we're looking at. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all in the green, 7, 8, 9 all in the green, and finally 10, 11, there's one just slightly in the red there, but that's going to come back down in a minute. There's 12 potential trades to come in. So we're looking at well over $500 in profit across those trades, minus our, well, it's going to be the best part of $200. So we're still looking at somewhere in the region of $350 profit if these all continue. So we'll keep an eye on them. At the moment, you can see they're all green, and we've got another 11 minutes to go on these. So if the dollar strength holds, which it certainly looks likely to, then we're going to be in a good position here. That Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, having looked so dominant, it's just leveled slightly, and I don't think it's going to be an issue, because over the next 10 minutes or so until these trades expire, there's plenty of time for this dollar to continue to dominate. The USD Canadian, just a very solid movement up by that, which based on the data that was released, I guess it probably makes it the most predictable one here. Just to get some feedback from you guys, so who has managed to replicate some trades here? What sort of results are you seeing, or potential results are you seeing at the moment? Where do you sit with these trades? And I totally appreciate that it can be very difficult to follow me at times, because obviously I'm reacting to movement, and when we've got this much activity going on, there was a lot today, then we're in a position where, right, what we're looking at here, let's have a look at these. Now the US dollar is really starting to take a hold, which I thought it would, and look, so all of these trades now looking very good indeed, so excellent stuff. So it's looking great for me. It took 6 over 2 brokers. Perfect. Okay, is it your first time with us, Pina? Okay, all right. Have you just set up with your brokers, or what have you just? How did you come about the webinars? Who's your consultant? Oh, hi Anthony as well. So a few of you on your first webinars. Okay, well look, welcome. It's really good that you can't see the chat. Okay, you can open the chat window, but anyway, the it's a really interesting day today. So we've got lots of financial events going on, which can make for huge opportunity, but also if you get it wrong, you really have to take into account where these trades have been, or trends have been, should I say, and this is the way to do it. Okay, all right, perfect, Pina. So, who are your relevant consultants? I mean, are you just on a trial webinar? It's just a free webinar, is it, with the software? All right, perfect. All right, well, Amelia's great. I'm sure she's looking after you. So, look, if any of you are interested in obviously taking these on okay, perfect, Anthony. Right, okay. Well, look, no problem. Better slow than quick and get it wrong, Peter, really. We just take it step by step. That's what these webinars are all about, is to make sure we've all got the knowledge to make sure we're making money from this and not taking too much risk. And of course, yeah, I've been trading for a long time. I get it wrong as well. But by and large, I get it very right. And through a process of common sense a lot of the time, logic and understanding where these trends have been, looking at market activity and what impact that's likely to have, we then go about making our trades. Okay. Well, I don't know about a raise. She's all right, but anyway, if she signs you up to a webinar subscription or a training program, then maybe we'll look at giving her a raise. But look, back to the serious stuff. The webinar really is designed. I'm the only person in the industry that does this, and the reason is we're so sure of what we're offering, the advice we're giving, and the results that our clients get, that I'm willing to sit here and trade my accounts live for everyone to see. That's how confident I am with the results I get. I don't always get it right, but it's a very honest approach, and certainly for the people that follow this regularly, they see very good benefits. You know, based on this webinar, we're going to be seeing somewhere in the region of, we've got, let me just have a look at how many trades we've got. 3, 6, 9, 12 trades placed. Okay, and it looks like those will come in. We did cancel 4 of them, so 12 times $45, which is average profit for this, is 540 minus the 200 that we originally placed. So we're looking at well over $300 profit. Okay, this New Zealand US dollar trend now plummeting, the US dollar completely taking over. Yes, Peter, of course you can come back again, you know, to speak to Amelia and she'll explain how to get involved in this. We do 2 of these a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. We will start running one later in the evening as well for our US clients and also European clients that are at work during the day. So we're just creating the demand for that and we'll start rolling those out as well. But if you combine this with a level of one-to-one training as well, then we'll get you to a level where it's very achievable without actually it being too time consuming for you to be earning 5, 10, even 15,000 plus a month consistently. Okay, so we can see that we're just following a very dominant US dollar here. It has turned about a little bit on the pound here, but and on the Canadian actually, but overall the US dollar is still looking very dominant. So yeah, it has moved back a bit. The signals we're getting are not indicating that. We've got another 5 minutes to go. Okay, Vijaya, well, probably we need to have a chat about that, whether you're copying the trades effectively, because of course, when I originally placed the trades on webinars, the issue is that if those trades don't go our way straight away, we have to use counter trades. So we have to look at where we got it wrong very quickly and put it right very quickly. And of course, following that takes some extra guidance. It takes some training so that you understand exactly how to react to these movements. If the trade we make is a bad judgment, you know, and we all do it, but we need to know how to rectify that very quickly and make sure we put it right so it doesn't cause us too much problem in terms of profit. So these are now just hovering about the level that we need them to, but overall these are going to continue to come down. I'm pretty sure that pound has just started to strengthen against the US dollar, but still looking good for our trades overall. Okay, so they're still well in the green. I think the US dollar is going to continue to dominate. Just going to have a look at some of the other events that are going on. We've got final services PMI coming up in an hour for the US, and then the ISM non-manufacturing, so Institute for Supply Management, but non-manufacturing. So it's not including manufactured goods, everything else. So that has been positive actually every month this year, or more or less, certainly on forecast or above forecast. So that's set to be good, especially with the trade balance report being very positive as well. So there we go. We've got 4 minutes left in our trades. Some of them can put our hearts in our mouths, you know, with how close they are. But overall, these are looking pretty good. So it's not going to take much more of a push by the US dollar to keep us in the money here. What we don't want is a sudden spike by the New Zealand dollar like we're seeing now. Overall, I think we need to focus on the US dollar for the afternoon. I think it's going to continue to dominate this. I'm just going to have a scroll through the charts here, see what we can see. On M5, the charts are slowing at the moment, but I think certainly the US dollar is going to be the more dominant currency throughout this afternoon sessions. Don't worry too much. We've got a few minutes to go, and that's probably just a freak spike away from the ongoing movement of the US dollar. We're back in the green on order mine now, as you can see from this one. There you go, but it is coming back down now, so I think we'll see these come back into the money just right at the close. So yeah, overall the US dollar showing massive dominance. Let's just see actually how that acts against the Canadian dollar going forward as well. We'll just have a look at that trend. If the chart changed for us, which at the moment it isn't. Yeah, we've got about a minute and a half of these trades, and we just need the US dollar to just give a last push. I think we're going to be all right. It's going to be very tense at the close. We'll see. What it will come down to here is strike points, you know, and as much as you try and replicate my trades exactly, the thing is the strike points will always be slightly different. There's not a lot we can do about that. So so we're just waiting for these to come to a close, and here comes the US dollar right at the end. So just pushing these back into the green. So any confirmation you can give me that these trades are also back in the green for you, you can see they are all but one. There we go. So they're just coming back in the green for me now. I had faith. All right, there we go. They're all back in the green now. There we go. Just the one here to go, and it's almost there. Where are we? 59. Got another 15 seconds. This is going to be so very tight right at the close. But you can see the vast majority of mine are in the green. And we just need this to push down just at the right last minute. We're going to get the vast majority of these in the green. Yeah, so there we go. Positions closed. So it'll be good to get some feedback. This one's got a delay on it because this should be finishing now as well, but it hasn't. I don't know why that's not expired. It certainly should have done. We'll see. I think it probably did finish in the green, so we're just going to go through and have a look at these. So yeah, any confirmation you could give me on where your trades ended up, it would have been very close indeed. So we're going to wrap this up now, but let's just have a look if we can check where we are for the day in terms of results very quickly, because I've got a training call to make at 3. So we'll just go through these results very quickly, and then obviously, as always, the webinar will go up on our OptionXC YouTube channel. All right. Now, oh, by the way, so for any of you that are new here, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm just going to give you the details now, and you can keep up to date with what we're doing. So I'm just going to put that up there. There we go. Yeah, very close indeed. In fact, I'm just going through. Let's just see if we can have a look at these. So we got, well, I do feel a little bit hard done by there, because we got one in there, but the others didn't, and I do feel very hard done by on the trades there. So we got 1-1. So we probably didn't quite get the result that we'd hoped, but look, that's trading. It was very close there, and I hope you, well, Pina, you did far better than most, I think, and it's all about timing. Just that slight difference in the strike point makes all the difference in the result. So thanks for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it, especially those of you it's been your first webinar. I'll make sure that Amelia follows up with you, and she can explain to you how you can get involved in these on a more constant basis. Thanks for joining me.